What if you were clever enough to trick a devil or powerful enough to capture death itself? And what if you learned the hard way why you never ever should have? Come, sit by the hearth and let the tale begin.
Dad, who's stronger, a great warrior or a really clever trickster?
That's an age-old question, my dear. Tonight's story is about a simple soldier who had almost nothing, except his wits, and he used them to face down devils and even death itself. It's an old Russian folktale called The Soldier and Death. Once, there was a soldier who, having served God and the great Tsar for 20 years, set off to walk his way home. He embraced his companions with whom he had served so long, and boasted of the feasting there would be in his village when he should come marching home again. Singing at the top of his voice, he set off. But as soon as he was alone on the high road, walking through the forest, he began to think things over, and he thought to himself, "All these years I've served the Tsar, I've had good clothes on my back and my belly was always full. But now I'm likely to be both hungry and cold, as I've nothing but 3 dry biscuits and no coin for the journey." Just then he met an old beggar who stood in the road and crossed himself and asked the soldier to spare a coin. The soldier didn't have a copper piece to his name, so he gave the beggar one of his 3 dry biscuits. He had not gone very far along the road when he met a second beggar who leant on a stick and recited holy words and begged alms for the love of God. The soldier gave him the second of his 3 dry biscuits. And then, at a bend in the road, he met a third old beggar with long white hair and beard and loathsome rags, who stood shaking by the roadside, and he begged for a coin. "If I give him my last dry biscuit, I shall have nothing left for myself," thought the soldier. He gave the old beggar half of the 3rd dry biscuit, but then the thought came into his head that perhaps this old beggar would meet the other 2 and would learn that they had been given whole biscuits while he had only been given a half. The soldier thought, "He will be hurt and affronted," so he kindly gave the old beggar the other half as well. "I shall get along somehow," thought the soldier, and began to make his way forward to continue his long journey. But the old beggar put out his hand and stopped him. "Brother," says the old beggar, "are you in want of anything?" "God bless you," says the soldier, looking at the beggar's rags. "I want nothing from you. You're a poor man yourself." "Never mind my poverty," says the old beggar. "Just tell me what you would like to have, and if I am able, I shall reward you for your kind heart." "I don't want anything," said the soldier. "But if you happen to have a pack of cards about you, I'd happily keep them in memory of you, and they'd be a pleasure to me on the long road." The old beggar thrust his hand into his rags, and after a short search of his pockets, pulled out a pack of cards. "Take these, and when you play with them, you'll always be winner, no matter who may be playing against you. And here, take this sack as well. It may look unremarkable, but if you meet anything and want to catch it, just open the sack and tell beasts or birds or anything else to get into it, and they'll do just that, and then you can close the sack and do with them what you will." "Thank you kindly," says the soldier, throws the sack over his shoulder, and puts the pack of cards in his pocket, and trudges off along the high road singing an old song. The soldier walked on and on until he came upon a lake. There, he stopped and drank a little water to ease his thirst, smoked a pipe to put off his hunger, and rested by the shore of the lake. Meanwhile, out on the lake, he saw 3 wild geese swimming far away. "Now, if only I could catch them," thought the soldier, and remembering the sack the old beggar had given him, thought he would give it a try. Opening the sack, he shouted at the top of his voice, "You there, you wild geese, come into my sack!" And the 3 wild geese splashed up out of the water, flew to the bank, and crowded into the sack one after the other. The soldier then tied up the mouth of the sack, flung it over his shoulder, and continued on his way. Soon he came to a town, looked for a tavern, and chose the best he could see, walked right in and asked for the landlord. "See here, in this sack are 3 wild geese. I want one of them roasted for my dinner. The second I'll give you in exchange for a bottle of vodka, and the third you shall have as payment for your trouble." The landlord happily agreed, and presently the soldier was seated at a good table near a window with a whole bottle of the best vodka and a fine roast goose fresh from the kitchen. When he had made an end of the goose, the soldier laid down his knife and fork, tipped the last drops of the vodka down his throat, and set the bottle upside down upon the table. Then he lit his little pipe, sat back on the bench, and took a long look out of the window to see what was going on in the town. And there, on the other side of the road, was a fine palace, well carved and painted. The work of a year's skilled labor had gone to the carving of every doorpost and window frame, but in all the palace there was not one whole pane of glass. "Landlord, tell me, what's the meaning of this? Why is a fine palace like that standing empty with broken windows?" "It truly is a lovely palace. The Tsar built it for himself, but there's no living in it on account of the devils." "Devils?" says the soldier. "Devils," answers the landlord. "Every night they crowd into the place, and what with their shouting and yelling and screaming and playing cards and all the other devilries that come into their heads, there's no living in the place for decent folk." "And why does nobody clear them out?" "Begging your pardon, but it's easier said than done." Well, with that the soldier's mind was made up. He wishes good health to the landlord and sets off to see the Tsar. He walks boldly into the Tsar's house and gives him a salute. "Your Majesty," says he, "will you give me leave to spend one night in your empty palace?" "God bless you," says the Tsar, "but you don't know what you're asking. Many foolhardy folk have tried to spend a night in that palace. They all went in merry and boasting, but not one of them came walking out alive in the morning." The soldier scoffed. "And what of that? Water won't drown a Russian soldier, and fire won't burn him. I have served God and the Tsar for 20 years, and still I am not dead. A single night in that palace won't be the end of me. But I tell you, a man walks in there alive in the evening, and in the morning the servants have to search the floor for the little bits of his bones. Nonetheless, if your Majesty will give me leave, oh, get along with you, and may God be with you. Spend the night there if you've set your heart on it." So the soldier entered the palace and wandered, whistling merrily, through the empty rooms. Entering the great hall, he laid his knapsack and sword in a corner, sat down at the table and made himself comfortable. He then took out his bag of tobacco, filled his little pipe, and sat there smoking, ready for whatever might come. 12 o'clock sharp, and there was a yelling, a shouting, a blowing of horns, a scraping of fiddles and every other kind of instrument, a noise of dancing, of running, of stamping, and the palace was suddenly crammed full of devils, making themselves at home as if they owned the place.
"Hey, you there, soldier!"
cried the devils.
"Why are you sitting there so glum, smoking your pipe? There's smoke enough where we've been. Why don't you put your pipe away and play a round of cards with us?"
"Right you are," says the soldier, "if you'll play with my cards."
"Deal them out!"
shouted the devils. So the soldier put his pipe in his pocket and dealt out the cards. All the while the devils crowded round the table, fighting for room on the benches. They played a game, and the soldier won. They played another, and he won again. The devils were cunning enough, God knows, but not even with all their cunning could they win a single game. The soldier was raking in the money all the time. Soon enough, the devils had not a penny piece between them, and the soldier moved to put his cards away and light his pipe. He was content, and well he might be, with his pockets bulging with money.
"Stop a minute, soldier. We've still got 60 bushels of silver and 40 of gold. We'll play for them if you'll give us time to send for them."
"Let's see the silver then," says the soldier and puts the cards in his pocket. Well, they sent a little devil to fetch the silver. 60 times he ran out of the room, and 60 times he came staggering back with a bushel of silver on his shoulders. With that, the soldier pulled out his cards, and they played on, but it was all the same. The devils cheated in every kind of way, but still could not win a game.
Go and fetch the gold,
says the oldest devil.
Aye, aye, grandfather,
says the little devil, and goes scuttling out of the room. 40 times he ran out, and 40 times he came staggering back with a bushel of gold between his shoulders. They played on. The soldier won every game and all the gold, asked if they had any more money to lose, put his cards in his pocket, and lit his pipe. The devils looked at all the money they had lost. It seemed a pity to lose all that good silver and gold.
Tear him to pieces, brothers,
they cried.
Let's tear him to pieces, eat him, and have done.
The soldier tapped his little pipe on the table. First make sure who eats whom. And with that, he whips out his sack, and he says to the devils, who are all gnashing their teeth and making ready to fall on him, "What do you call this?"
"It's a sack,"
said the devils. "Is it? Then by the grace of God, get into it."
He got all of them? Just like that?
And the next minute, all those devils were tumbling over each other on their way into the sack, squeezing in one on top of the other until the last one had gotten inside. Then the soldier tied up the sack with a good double knot, hung it on a nail by his knapsack, and lay down to sleep. Early the next morning, the Tsar sent his servants to see what had happened to the soldier. When the servants arrived, all were ready to lament for the brave soldier done to death by the devils. And lo and behold, there was the soldier, walking cheerfully from one room to another, smoking his little pipe and whistling a merry tune. "Well done, soldier! We never thought to see you alive again. But how did you survive the night? How did you manage against those devils?" "Devils? I wish all men I have played cards against had paid their debts so honestly. Have a look at the silver and gold I won from them. Look at the heaps of money lying on the floor." The servants looked at the silver and gold and touched it to see if it was real, but there was no doubting it. "Now, brothers, off with you as quick as you can. Go and fetch 2 blacksmiths here on the run, and let them bring with them an iron anvil and the 2 heaviest hammers in the forge." The servants asked no questions, but hurried straight to the smithy, and the 2 blacksmiths came running with anvil and hammers. Giants they were, the strongest men in all the town. "Now, gentlemen, take that sack from the nail and lay it on the anvil, and let me see how the blacksmiths of this town can set about their work." The blacksmiths took the sack from the nail. "Devil take it, what a weight!" they said to each other. And little voices screamed out of the sack,
"We are good folk. We are your own people."
"Are you?" said the blacksmiths, as they laid the sack on the anvil and began to swing the great hammers up and down and up and down as if they were beating out a lump of iron. The devils fared badly in there, and worse and worse. The hammers came down as if they were going through devils, anvil, earth, and all. It was more than even devils could bear.
Have mercy, soldier. Let us out into the world and we'll never forget you, world without end. And as for this palace, no devil shall put the nail of the toe of his foot in it. We'll tell them all. Not one shall come within 100 miles.
The soldier let the blacksmiths give a few more blows, just for luck, and then stopped them and untied the mouth of the sack. The moment he opened it, the devils shot out and fled away to hell without looking right or left in their hurry. But the soldier was no fool, and so he grabbed one old devil by the leg. And there the devil hung, gibbering, trying to get away. The soldier cut the devil's hairy wrist so that the blood flowed, took a pen, dipped it in the blood, and gave it to the devil, but he never let go of its leg. "Write that you shall be my faithful servant, and serve me faithfully, wherever and whenever there shall be need." The old devil screamed and wriggled, but the soldier gripped him tight. There was nothing to be done, so he wrote out the promise and signed it with his own blood. At once the soldier let him go, and he went, hopping and screaming after the others, and disappeared in a moment. And so all the devils went rushing down to hell, aching in every bone of their hairy little bodies. Once there, they called all the other unclean spirits, old and young, big and little, and told what had happened to them. And so they set sentinels all round hell and guards at every gate, and ordered them to watch well, and whatever they did, not on any account to let in the soldier with the accursed sack. The soldier went to the Tsar and told him how he had dealt with the devils, and how henceforth no devil would set foot within 100 miles of the palace. And with that there was a great to-do, shifting the bedding and tables and benches and all else from the old palace to the new. The soldier set up house with the Tsar, living with him as his own brother, and wore fine clothes with gold embroidery, and ate the same food as the Tsar, and as much of it as he liked. Of course, he now had money to spend, for he had won enough from the devils to last even a spending man 1,000 years. But he had nothing to spend it on, and so there the money lay in a corner till the soldier was tired of looking at it. Then the soldier thought that he should marry. So he took a wife, and in a year's time she gave him a son. He had nothing more to wish for except to see his son grow up and become a general. But it just so happened that the little boy fell ill, and what was the matter with him, no one knew. Yet day by day he grew worse and worse, and the Tsar sent for every doctor in the country, but not one of them did him any good. The doctors all grew richer, while the boy grew worse, as is often the way. The soldier had almost given up all hope of saving his son when he remembered the old devil who had sworn to serve the soldier faithfully, wherever and whenever there should be need. As he remembered this, he said to himself, "Now where the devil has my old devil been all this time?" And he had scarcely said this aloud when suddenly there was the little old devil standing in front of him, trembling with fright and asking,
"How can I serve your excellency?"
"See here, my son is ill. Do you happen to know how to cure him?" The little old devil took a glass from his pocket and filled it with cold water and set it on the sick child's forehead.
"Come here, your excellency, and look into the glass of water."
The soldier came and looked in the glass.
"And what does your excellency see?"
asked the little old devil, so afraid of the soldier that he trembled and could hardly speak. "Why, I see death, like a little old woman standing at my son's feet."
"Oh, be easy then, for if death is standing at your son's feet, he will be well again. But if death was standing at his head, then nothing in the world could save him."
And with that, the little old devil lifted the glass and sprinkled some of the cold water over the sick child. And the next minute, there was the little boy crawling about and laughing and crowing as if he had never been sick in his life. The soldier was astounded and quickly hatched a cunning plan. "Devil, if you agree to give me that glass, I'll release you from your promise." The little old devil gladly gave him the glass, and the soldier gave back the promise which the devil had signed in his own blood. As soon as the little old devil had that promise in his hand, he gave one last look at the soldier and fled away as quick as a flash. After that day, the soldier set himself up as a healer, putting all the doctors out of business, curing everyone from beggars to boyars and beyond. He would simply look in his glass, and if death stood at a sick man's feet, he sprinkled the water over him and cured him. If death stood at the sick man's head, he said, "I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do." And the sick man died as sure as fate. All went well until the day that the Tsar fell ill and sent for the soldier to cure him. The soldier went in, and the Tsar greeted him and prayed he be quick, as he felt the sickness growing heavy upon him as he lay. The soldier poured cold water in the glass, set it on the Tsar's forehead, and looked again, and each time he saw death standing at the Tsar's head. "Oh, my Tsar," says the soldier, "I am so sorry, but death is waiting by your head, and you have but a few minutes left to live." "What? You cure beggars and generals, but will not cure me, who am Tsar, and have treated you as my own born brother? If I've only a few minutes to live, I've time enough to give orders for you to be beheaded." The soldier thought about it, and then addressed Death. "O Death, give my life to the Tsar, and kill me instead. Better to die like this than to meet my end in shame, being beheaded." He looked once more in the glass, and saw that the little old woman Death had shifted from the Tsar's head, and was now standing at his feet. He picked up the glass and sprinkled the water over the Tsar, and there was the Tsar, as well and healthy as ever he had been. "You are my own true brother after all," says the Tsar. "Let us all go and feast together." But the soldier shook in all his limbs and could hardly stand, as he knew that his time had come. He prayed Death, "O Death, I beg you give me just 1 hour to say goodbye to my wife and son." "Hurry up," says Death. With that, the soldier hurried to his room in the palace, said goodbye to his wife, told his son to grow up and be a good general, lay down on his bed, and grew weaker every minute. He looked through the glass, and there was Death, a little old woman, standing by his bedside. "Well, soldier," says Death, "you have only 2 minutes left to live." The soldier groaned, and, turning in his bed, pulled the old sack from under his pillow and opened it. "Do you know what this is?" says he to Death. "A sack," says Death. "Well, if it is a sack, get into it," says the soldier.
He did it again! He caught Death!
Death was drawn into the sack in a moment. Immediately, the soldier leapt from his bed, well and strong, tied up the sack with 2 double knots, flung it over his shoulder, and set out for the deepest, thickest forest in all the world. He came to the forest and made his way into the very heart of it, where he hung the sack from the topmost branches of a high poplar tree, left it there, and came home singing songs at the top of his voice and full of all kinds of merriment. From that time on, there was no dying in the world. There were births every day, and plenty of them, but nobody died. It was a poor time for doctors. Thus it was for many years. Death had come to an end, and it was as if all men would live forever. And all that time, the little old woman Death, tied up in a sack, unable to get about her business, was hanging from the top of a tall poplar tree away in the deep, dark forest. One day, the soldier was walking out to take the air, and he met an ancient old crone, so old and so ancient that she was likely to fall whichever way the wind blew. She tottered along, blown this way and that like a blade of withered grass. What a wretched old thing! It was time for her to die many years ago. "Oh, yes," says the old crone, with her toothless gums numbling and grumbling over her words.
Long ago it was time for me to die. When you shut up death in the sack, I had only an hour left to live. I had done with the world, and the world had done with me, and I would have been glad to be at peace. Long ago my place in heaven was made ready, but it is empty to this day, for I cannot die. You, soldier, have sinned before God and before man. You have sinned a sin that God will not forgive. I am not the only soul in the world who is as tortured as I am. Mine is not the only place that is growing dusty in heaven. Hundreds and thousands of us who should have died drag on in misery all over the world. But for you, we should now be resting in peace.
I guess you need death, don't you?
The soldier began to think, and he thought of all the other old men and women he had kept from the rest that God had made ready for them. There is no doubt about it. I had better let death loose again. No matter if I'm the first of whom she makes an end. I have sinned many sins, not counting this one. I had better go to the other world now and bear my punishment while I am strong, for when I am very old, it will come worse to me to be tortured. So he set off again to the deepest, thickest forest, where he found the poplar tree and saw the sack hanging from the topmost branches, swinging this way and that as the wind blew. "Hello, Death? Are you still alive up there?" the soldier shouted against the wind. And a little voice, hardly to be heard, answered from the sack,
I'm alive, little father.
So the soldier climbed up the tree, took down the sack, and carried it home over his shoulder. He said goodbye to his wife and son, who was now a fine young lad. Then he went into his own room, opened the bag, lay down upon the bed, and begged Death to make an end of him. And Death, in the form of a little old woman, crept trembling out of the sack, looking this way and that, for she was very much afraid. As soon as she saw the soldier, she bolted through the door and ran away as fast as her little old legs could carry her.
The devils can make an end of you if they like, but you won't catch me taking a hand in it.
The soldier sat up on the bed and realized that he was still alive and well. He was deeply troubled about what to do next. Mournfully, he thinks, I'd better get straight along to hell and let the devils throw me into the boiling pitch and stew me until all my sins are stewed out of me. So once again, he said goodbye to everybody, took his sack in his hands, and set off to find hell by the best road he could find. Well, he walked on and on, over hill and valley, through deep forest and dark swamp, until he came at last to the kingdom of the unclean. There were the walls and gates of hell, and as he looked, he saw that sentinels were standing at every gate. As soon as he came near a gate, the devil on sentry duty calls out,
Who goes there?
A sinful soul come to you to be stewed in the boiling pitch.
And what is that you've got in your hand?
This? Why, it's only an old sack. But the devil yelled out at the top of his voice and gave the alarm. From all sides, the unclean rushed up and began closing every gate and window in hell with strong bolts and bars. And the soldier walked round hell outside the walls, unable to get in. He cried out to the prince of hell, Let me into hell, I beg you. I've come to you to be tormented because I have sinned before God and before man. But the prince of hell shouted, No, I won't let you in. Go away. Go away, I tell you. Go away anywhere you like. There's no place for you here. The soldier was more troubled than ever. Well, if you won't let me in, you won't. I'll go away, but only if you will give me 200 sinful souls. I will take them to God, and perhaps when he sees them, he will forgive me and let me into heaven. I'll throw in another 50 if only you'll get away from here. And he told the lesser devils to count out 250 sinful souls and to let them out quickly at one of the back doors of hell, while he held the soldier in talks so that the soldier would not slip in as the sinful souls were going out. It was done, and the soldier set off for heaven with 250 sinful souls behind him, marching in a column with the soldier at the head. Well, they marched on and on for what seemed an eternity, and in the end, they came to the outskirts of heaven and stopped before the very gates of paradise. And the holy apostle standing at the gateway of paradise said, "Who are you?" "I am the soldier who captured death in a sack, and I have brought 250 sinful souls that I freed from hell in hope that God will pardon my sins and let me into paradise." But God, overhearing the exchange, said, "Let in the sinful souls, but do not let in the soldier." The apostle opened the gates and told the souls they might come in, but when the soldier tried to march in at the head of his company, he was stopped. "No, soldier, there's no place for you here." As soon as the souls began to march into heaven, the clever soldier took one of them aside and gave that soul his sack and told him, "As soon as you are through the gates of paradise, open the sack and shout out, 'Into the sack, soldier!' You will do this because I brought you here from hell." And the grateful soul promised to do this for the soldier. But when that sinful soul went through the gates into paradise, it forgot about everything, including the soldier and his promise, and dropped the sack somewhere in paradise where it may be lying to this day. After waiting a long time, the soldier gave up and journeyed slowly back to walk the earth and do what he could. Death would not take him. There was no place for him in paradise or in hell. For all I know, he may be living yet, roaming the world in search of his final rest.
So, he's just walking? Forever? That's the saddest ending ever.
It is a sad ending, but it's a powerful one. The soldier was clever enough to beat the devils and trap death, but he learned too late that there are some parts of the natural order you should never challenge. He's a man who belongs nowhere, all because he was too clever for his own good. What do you think? Was the soldier a hero or a fool who deserved his fate? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed our tale, tend our little hearth by giving this video a like and subscribing for more tales from around the world. Until next time, I am, as ever, your humble storyteller. May your nights be warm, your dreams filled with wonder, and your heart ever open to the magic of a good story.